I want to talk about the condition and the people that you work with, and I want people to get a bit more of an understanding of fibromyalgia and CFS and ME. I can't even remember tell me what ME stands for.
Myalgic encephalitis.
Yeah. And they're the key people that you work with, or they're the key conditions that you work with. But tell us about us. Give us 2 or 3 minutes on your journey with you personally, chronic fatigue, and how it impacted you, how it impacted your life and your family, and I guess even your direction and your subsequent recovery.
Yeah, sure. So growing up, I had so much energy, you couldn't stop me. I think my mum, when I was a kid, had like one of those leads that you kind of had your kid on because they were just too much energy.
I know, but you were 13 then, that was embarrassing.
Still need one now. And basically, yeah, I was just like the life of the party, just had so much energy. And I was quite tall as a teenager. And so basketball was my chosen sport. And so my dream was to become a famous basketball player. That was kind of this like vision that I had for myself. And I was kind of getting there, I was working hard. I was training 14 times a week, slam dunking the ball at 14, played a few VBL games at the age of 15, which was pretty decent for a kid.
Amazing.
And then basically I got glandular fever and the carpet got swept underneath my feet, basically. I just thought it was a cold and flu, and I was like, well, I'll push on and I'll be right in a couple of weeks. And I kept playing sport and kept pushing myself. And basically it was like a 6-month journey of just like hammering my body into the ground. And then eventually one day I woke up and I couldn't lift my head off the pillow. Like my nervous system just shut down. But it was a progressive thing. And basically, we don't really get taught preventative stuff about health. And at the time I was eating pretty shit, like cardboard box kind of cereal, can of Coke on the way to school, a hot jam donut, and, was just very malnourished, but at the same time training like a superstar athlete who basically gets to rest all day, but I wasn't resting, it was just sport, work, very little sleep and very bad nutrition, which was a great recipe for chronic fatigue syndrome on the back of having a virus like glandular fever. And so for me, it was a long journey to get diagnosed. So I felt like I was dying. I remember vividly the time when it really got worse was I'd take off the whole week of school and then I just played my basketball game just to get through it. And then I'd take off another week of school and play basketball just to get through it. And it was my last game and I remember just feeling totally off, and I went to run to get the ball and I felt like I was running backwards, like my body was just shutting down. And then that was the next day when I woke up and couldn't lift my head off the pillow. And we went on a 6-month journey to try and find what was wrong with me, hundreds of blood tests. And, even now it's still really hard to get diagnosed from your traditional doctor. A lot of people just think you're making it up, or it's all in your head, or that you just need to sleep it off or think more positively. But basically it's a neurological disease. Your body just kind of shuts down. And for me, I believe it's a multifaceted syndrome. So you can get it from a virus, you can get it from pushing yourself, it could be trauma, it could be stress, or it's usually a combination of those things where the body just cannot adapt anymore. And it's basically calling out for help, screaming out, listen to me, listen to me. And then, for me, I went through a huge loss. It was like, who am I? I was the tall, fit guy who'd run laps around anybody at school. And then all of a sudden I could barely walk. And, I couldn't go to school. I lost 20 kilos of muscle weight. So I used to have a 6-pack and be totally ripped at the age of 15. And then I was this skinny, scrawny kid who couldn't boast about his basketball ability. And so for me, I kind of just grieved that life that I had. And also didn't know that there was a potential possibility to get better, because back then the internet was very negative with, there's no cure for chronic fatigue, and there still isn't a cure in terms of there's no pill that you can take and you'll get better. And I think that's the problem with chronic illnesses especially, is that we kind of just think, we'll go to the doctor and we'll get the tablet and we'll get better. Just like, a cold and a flu or an infection, we get antibiotics and we take it and we feel good. Chronic illness doesn't work like that. So, it was a really tough journey for me to go through. But one of the things that was a pivotal changing point for me was kind of going through like 20 different specialists and hoping that they would cure me. And the last practitioner that I saw kind of said, like, he's like, all right, my boy, you're done. You can go and run again. I hadn't ran for like 3 years. I was like, oh, sweet. Like, I'll give it a go. Started running. And within 5 minutes, I basically collapsed on the side of the street. I was so deconditioned. I hadn't run for 2.5 years, 3 years. and had a major setback. And what happened was, it was so perfect though, because it was like, wow, no one can fix me. No one can fix me but me. And it was just so empowering, because I was like, well, if it's to be, it's up to me. You know, it was hard, but I luckily got admitted to a hospital program, which was like a rehabilitation program for people with chronic fatigue syndrome. And that taught me the importance of routine, sleep, nutrition, restorative movement, and regaining strength and stamina in my body again. And that was the first time I had a glimpse of hope, because I actually improved within 4 weeks. It was quite an intensive program, but I improved enough to go, wow, I can do this. That set me on the path to know that I was going to get better and just do whatever it took to get better. And the pain and suffering that I went through in those first 2 years motivated me so much that I didn't want anyone else in the world to experience what I had to experience alone. Ultimately, for me, the biggest difference, and this is what I've seen in thousands of people that I've worked with, it was never a pill, it was never a person that got them better. It was what they did for themselves over a period of time that helped the most. Whether we talk about full recovery or just general improvement in quality of life, any improvement is good improvement, especially when you've come from such a bad place.